Calls this evening for owners to be made more accountable for the actions of their dogs. Now, recently, there have been several dog attacks that have sparked concerns. In part 2 of this Primetime News special report looking at dangerous dogs, we turn the spotlight on the law. Here's TVJ's VASHAN Brown.
Frequent dog attacks have been increasing calls for the law to have more teeth. The March 1877 Dog Liability for Injuries Act states that the owner of every dog shall be liable in damages for injury done to any person or any cattle or sheep by his dog. The act also states that such damages shall be recoverable in any court of competent jurisdiction by the person injured or by the owner of such cattle or sheep killed or injured. So essentially, as Attorney at Law DANIELLE puts it, the law allows you to sue the owner for the injury caused by a dog bite.
The problem with doing that is that you have to establish that you have the owner and you know that it is that dog who belongs to the owner for you to be able to effectively sue. Now, you will have those ingenious attorneys who will perhaps say, well, I can perhaps try using the Occupiers Liability Act, which says if I invite somebody onto my premises and they get hurt, then I'm liable for their injury.
She says what is needed is a more progressive legislation, making it a criminal offense if your dog attacks people.
Some jurisdictions make it a felony for you to actually have a dangerous dog. You have legislation which allows you to have them licensed, have them tagged, so you know who they belong to and where they belong, and if they're in a particular location, they can be fined or charged for having the dogs in that particular location. So you want to escalate it from not just a civil impact, but to also have criminal legislation that makes them criminally liable. We could even go as far as adopting the measures in some parts of the world where they actually say that because your dog has killed somebody or harmed somebody, that you are liable for manslaughter.
Veterinarian Dr. GABRIELLE Beckford argues that dogs must be better linked to owners.
What we can think of is something like microchipping or tattooing, and those can, allow dogs to be registered under a kennel club or under a certain body, and then you can automatically identify who owns each dog. So if a dog goes out and bites someone, we know, okay, Rambo, his owner is Mr. Brown.
The managing director of the Jamaica Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, JSPCA, PAMELA LAWSON, also believes that dog owners should be held more accountable for the actions of their dogs.
We've reached a point now where we're going to have to fix it through legislation. The problem, as always with anything in Jamaica, is when we put in legislation, who's going to enforce it? Many times have had animals who have killed people. The owner is not legally liable. Only financially you can take a civil case out. And if it's somebody who doesn't have the means, it doesn't happen. And inevitably it is somebody who does not have the means.
We need to create an act that allows owners to be prosecuted when there's repeated offenses of their dogs attacking, passers-by or patrons.
It's not just a pit bull issue, but people tend to keep the so-called large breed dogs in their homes for security.
When you say large breeds, what do you mean?
I'm talking about Rottweilers, German Shepherds, Dobermans, Pit Bulls. I mean, there's a lot of large breeds. And Mastiffs, do you want a small dog running down somebody who's in your yard? They're not going to have as much of effect. People want large animals. They want impressive looking animals that are going to show that you should not enter their premises.
So should Jamaica take the route of banning dangerous dogs like pit bulls? And what will be done to strengthen laws? The response tomorrow from the Justice Minister. VASHAN Brown, TVJ News.
A 93-year-old woman was raped in Keith District, St. Anne. Police say the woman, who is also an amputee, was home alone about 2 o'clock in the morning when a man entered the house through a window and carried out the act. The woman was later found by her 59-year-old daughter. She remains in hospital and the suspect is yet to be found.